the Jack and Terry Show. Our special guest today is none other than Barry Saylor. And if you live around here, you already know Barry Saylor. He needs no introduction. He's the owner of multiple Subway stores. He's a community leader, and he's above average chess player. Barry, good to see you.
Oh, thanks for having me on the show, Terry and Jack.
Absolutely. Thank
Good to
you.
have you.
Jack, today's going to be an interesting show because Barry, who has studied this whole election process thoroughly and made some videos about it and conducted a forum about it, knows a lot about what's going on with this. It's a whole different thing than we've had in the past. So he's going to give us some details on that to distribute to our members. One of the interesting things I've found, and I think you probably thought about this, I think we've even talked about this. We're very lucky in the Small Business Alliance that we have people with a lot of different interests. And we can find somebody that's interested in the political process, who's an expert on it, who studies it, who understands it, like Barry. It's a huge advantage for us so we can help keep our members educated or informed about what's going on. How do you vote? Who's running and things like that. What are your thoughts about that, Jack?
Well, I agree with you. We're really lucky to have somebody like Barry. Barry saved me a lot of time during the opening part of the Democratic debate season. He would put out very informed posts on Facebook,
Yeah.
and I could just skim over it. Didn't have to watch all of that he had to watch, and I could come up with my own opinions on what I thought. And I'm serious. He did a great job. He was very,
Thank you.
he was very professional.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
Now that's a compliment coming right there from the granddaddy of all small businesses. I left that out in the beginning. I apologize.
Oh, we don't want to leave it.
Can't leave that out. That's the slogan here. Barry, if you don't mind, go ahead and give us a little bit of an overview of how you see things, kind of some dates and some processes that you might be able to share with us about this upcoming primary.
Well, this time with the virus, voting is going to be very interesting. You're going to have to work on it a little bit to vote. Terry, you and I talked about that earlier. It's not just going to the polling place this year. There's some steps that have to be taken. How to vote. There is a deadline to register, and that's May 26th. And I want to let you know that it is kind of an important thing to go online to govotekentucky.com. govotekentucky.com. And what's interesting about that site is you can see if you're registered correctly too, which is important when you go to do this. You just follow the links. They've got it set up pretty nice. In Hardin County, now every county's different. Jefferson's different than Hardin and how they're doing things. It's all very, very interesting to me. Postcards on how to vote are being mailed out this week. You return that postcard by June 15th, and you will be issued a paper ballot. Now, this is in Hardin County. In order to be counted, the ballot has to be mailed back to the clerk's office, postmarked by June 23rd. Okay? They're setting it up so you can go to the county government building and drop your ballot off if you want to. But the encouragement is to do it by mail so they don't overtax the poll workers during that time period. Ballots can be taken to the county government building anytime before 6 p.m. on June 23rd. And that's the voting process. And you're going to have to work at it a little bit to get that done this year. One of the things that Terry and I talked about earlier was what's going to be very interesting for us political junkies is that it's possible that correctly postmarked ballots will still be coming in 4 days after the primary date. So those can arrive by June 27th. So we're not going to really know what happened, maybe even not by the Monday following the Tuesday. That's pretty fascinating stuff, if you ask me.
Barry, so in-person voting, we were talking about dropping the ballot off at the county clerk and things like that, but what about in-person voting here in Hardin County?
And that's it. When you get your ballot, what they'd like for you to do is to mail it back. That's
Okay.
that's the preferred way to do it. But if you just have you just can't bring yourself to do that, you can take it to a ballot box at the county government building anytime before 6 p.m. June
Got it.
23rd.
So you're saying that the typical way of voting in person, that option doesn't even exist in this primary election.
As of this moment, unless there's different information that I'm not aware of, you're not going to your regular precinct polling place to vote. That's not happening
Got
in
it.
this primary.
There was some confusion about that. Glad you cleared that up. Now, what about the candidates that are important to our election here in our listening area?
Good question. Because there's confusion about that too, and there always is. People are always surprised when they get there and go, "Oh, I didn't know that race was even going on." Second district, U.S. House with Brett Guthrie as the incumbent there. He has somebody challenging him. So there is a Republican primary, no Democratic primary there. Maybe the most interesting could be the U.S. Senate race, Democrat and Republican. We have Mitch McConnell as the Republican incumbent, and he has 6 challengers. And the Democrats have 10 people in that primary. So that's pretty interesting.
That's pretty interesting.
That
Now,
is.
locally, we get down into Radcliff area. We have the 27th Democrat primary, pretty much the only state legislative primary we have, and we have a Radcliff primary. Could you address those for a second?
Yeah, we'll talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about the video, the political forum video that we did in just a moment. But for the 27th, there is a Democratic primary, 2 candidates, 2 Democrats running. So there is a primary in the 27th for state representative, 27th district state representative. Also, that touches Radcliff, because we basically, a lot of people don't know, Gary, we could have a big discussion about redistricting, but we probably don't need to go into that right now. But we have 4 state representatives representing Radcliff.
So we're overrepresented.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say that. We're represented in a very different way, than maybe other people are. Terry, that's a whole nother discussion, though. I don't, I know this is I know you and Jack are a spontaneous show. Yeah.
Well, if we had all 4 of them living in Radcliff, we would be over.
That would be overrepresented.
There you go. That's why he's the granddaddy of small business, right there.
Exactly. We call it scattered representation.
Scattered representation.
That's a fair description.
Yeah.
So that takes care of that. Now, what about Radcliff City Council? Barry, talk to us about that council race.
Well, that's interesting too, because we did have a primary and somebody dropped out. So now technically we don't have a primary, but I believe it's still going to behave as a primary. So basically what this will wind up being with 12 candidates is you'll just have a real good idea of what the showing is in the primary as we hit into the general. So there was a primary, now there's not a primary, but it'll still be on the ballot.
Because Jake Pierman pulled out. Do you think we ought to send Jake a bill for $12,000?
I certainly think that there is some reason for that. So
validity to that. Jake will be sending
validity. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be thrilled when he's watching the show.
All right.
Yeah,
that's great. Now, you mentioned the article in the paper this today, Barry, which was excellent. You and Stan did a tremendous job, along with the candidates, of putting together a forum. We do have that Democrat forum, and Barry working with Ben Sharon at the News Enterprise. Here's a copy of the paper today. Do you have one, Barry? I didn't know if you had it or not.
I do.
But anyway, there's the front page in there that talks about that and links the viewers back to the program that Barry and Stan put together. It was a great story and a great opportunity for people that want to know who these 2 Democrat candidates are. We know who the primary, when we get out to the general election in the 27th, it's going to be Nancy Tate against one of those.
Yes.
So Barry, what else do you have to add to this?
Well, let's talk about that video forum for a moment. Something very, very different and certainly out of our wheelhouse. At the RSBA, we put our heads together and said, what can we do? We can't have our normal political forums in person. What can we do? And the idea came up to have a video forum, like in the Zoom format, like we're doing now. And for a group of people that had never done anything like that before, I think it turned out very, very well. And the goal, of course, was to inform the voters. That's what we do. We're just like everybody else. We'd like to have the best candidates
Right.
in these
Right.
races, and we like to help them. I want to mention too, real fast, that I had a video segment in there about what Abraham Lincoln said about candidates and public service, but that landed on the cutting room floor, Jack, because I found out. I found out what it was like for actors to have their stuff land on the cutting room floor.
Right.
So you can see him shaking his head a little bit. That's what happened. So
it gets deep over on my side, I'll tell you.
I understand. I understand.
Well, Barry, I want to thank you and Stan. You guys did a great job. And I know a lot of work went into this. Here's another thing about the Small Business Alliance. We're involved in a lot of things, but we have different people responsible for different areas. And it's not run by one individual. It's not micromanaged by anyone. And that's what makes it great. We have people that are skilled at these things. And once they get their hands on a project that they're passionate about, we always get great results. And that's what's happening right now with many things, and more things to come. Jack, do you have anything that you wanted to mention about what's going on, or maybe even a question for the king
No,
of voting over here, Barry Saylor, and his all-star team?
no, as usual, he does his great job of explaining things. I understood most of it.
I did too. He did a
Wow.
great job. Barry,
Wow.
we're going to leave you with the last word. What do we need to know? What would people need to know if they zoom to the end of this video? They're finding out what's going on. What do they need to know? I'm not talking about a civics lecture. Just what do they need to do if they already understand civics?
You're if you want to vote this time around in this primary, you're going to have to work at it a little bit. You can go to govotekentucky.com. That's a state website. That'll help you tell whether you're registered or not to do that, and whether you're going to get a postcard. And that's what you need, the information to do that. To get a ballot, it's a little on the complicated side. You have to kind of make a determination. Hey, I'm going to work through this and get the process done so my vote will count.
Absolutely. Barry, thank you. That's Barry Saylor, owner of the Subway stores, community leader, above average chess player, and also the head of the team that takes care of. Are you shaking your head as though you're not
I'm not.
above
I'm
average?
just.
You are
I,
above
you
it.
know, whatever. I just nod whatever you say. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Barry. Jack, it's good seeing you again.
Good
We'll
seeing
be
you.
back together in a couple of days. This is really getting interesting. We're getting a lot of interest about coming on the show. It's becoming very popular. I expect it to be around the world soon, especially when we release our commercial of the C-140 dropping flyers all over the community. It's going to be awesome. So thank both of you for being here. Enjoyed every minute of it, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, guys.